Lucky by Alice Sebol. Summary. 18-year-old Alice Sebol was going through the park one day when somebody happened to grab her. Later that day, Alice was raped by a man named Gregory Madison, but she was alive and she believed that was better than to be raped and dead. Later, she made her way back to the dorm where the police and ambulance was called. Alice's friend Mary Alice comforted Alice during the questioning and the doctor's examination. The questioning at the police station was no less difficult. Being dressed in the clothes that her friends hurriedly gathered and bought her, she looked too provocative for her liking. After an odd summer at home, Alice wanted to return to college. She always thought that her family was weird. Her mother and her constant panic attacks were annoying. Her father and his obsession with Spanish literature was weird, and her two goody two-shoes sisters simply didn't know how to help Alice when she needed the help. After returning to her college, Alice grew apart with various old friends of hers. They seemed to not be comfortable in each other's company anymore. Alice did find a way to express her emotions through one of her classes, English. In her English class, Alice wrote poems about her rape so she could express her emotions openly. In one poem, she wrote, "I want to kill you with guns and boots and glass." In the same class, Alice found an empathizer named Tess Gallagher, her English professor. Alice quickly found a new friend named Lila and moved in a new dorm with her. One day, Lila was raped in her own dorm by someone that was unknown to everyone. This person did not have known identity and remained anonymous, but the person did ask for Alice by name. Before raping Lila, he made a connection with Gregory, and turned out that Gregory and Lila's rapist were friends. This ended the friendship between Lila and Alice. Just as Alice began to give up all hope in her life, miraculously, she bumped into Gregory, and after that, Alice hurried and she went to the police station. Once she got to the police station, they started a very long and tiresome trial. This trial resulted in the imprisonment of Gregory. Gregory was finally in his rightful place, behind bars. Unfortunately, having her rapist behind bars was not everything Alice hoped it would be. Alice still felt distress from her rape, and she turned to various drugs such as marijuana, cocaine, and many prescription painkillers. Just being in New York, in the same city of her rape, made Alice very stressed, and so as a result, Alice decided to move to California. Once in California, Alice slowly returned to being herself, and she started writing and being vocal about her experiences. Rape. Here, I began to combine the truth with fiction, using anything to try and get him to my side, to see me as worse off than him. He had raped me, and I could not believe it, said Alice at one point of the book, just to represent all of her frustration towards the rape. Alice was trying to persuade her rapist that she was worse off than him, and because she was getting raped, she belittled herself and lost her worth. Alice begged Gregory not to rape her, and he did it anyway. Gregory was cruel to Alice and showed her how powerless she was. While being raped, Alice said, "He cursed me, he turned me around, and he sat on my chest." Change. Alice no longer remained the same colorful student she was when she went to Syracuse University before her rape. She turned into a different and darker Alice, one that only knew pain and would do anything to get over it. And in this case, it was drugs. Alice continued to do drugs, knowing that they were all really bad for her. She changed into a darker, careless person. Alice said one day while she was doing drugs that I loved heroin. Drinking had drawbacks, namely the volume I needed to reach oblivion. Cocaine made me sick. I went into paralytic cramps, ecstasy and mushroom and acid trips. Who wanted to enhance a mood? My goal was to destroy it. Strength. Through her strength, Alice started to return to her old happy ways of living. This was a start for her, because before she was completely different, and now she slowly started to go back to her old happy self. This was using her strength, and she really tried to pull herself out of the darkness. One day, she found that something was wrong. Something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what. I lay in bed, I ate again, as I hadn't since college, and I wore my flannel nightgowns. The call to adventure in Lucky by Alice Sebol was the rape of Alice from her rapist Gregory. This is what started off the entire process of Alice becoming a writer and becoming vocal about her experiences. Refusal of the call. During Alice's rape, Alice completely surrendered herself to the rapist to the point where she gave up. Alice said, "I would rather be raped 1,000 times than be dead." Alice was ready to be raped 1,000 times just to be able to survive, instead of fighting. This was a refusal of the call to adventure. Helpers and mentors. Helpers and mentors for Alice were Tess Gallagher and Mary Alice. These two mentored or helped Alice because during her rape, Mary was there during all of the doctor examinations to support Alice, and Tess was there through all of the court hearings to support Alice as well. Due to these two, Alice was able to break free of her past and move on as a new person and as a successful writer. Obstacles. An obstacle for Alice was all of her courtroom hearings. Alice felt great distress during her hearings because she didn't like the environment that she was put in. Alice had to face her rape case. Alice was so distressed by the court hearing that she expressed her fear by saying, "Even though by all measures I was safe in the courtroom that surrounded the professionals, I was still afraid." The low point. The low point in Alice's journey was when she fell towards drugs. This is the point where Alice was most in need of help and was in her most darkest spot. Alice did not think that there would be any hope for her, and she basically gave up on herself. Resurrection. A resurrection point in Alice's journey was when she found herself slowly coming back to her old likes. She noticed that she slowly began to fall back into the same patterns that she liked before, such as wearing flannel clothing or eating. Restitution. At the end of her journey, Alice moved to California, where she moved on from all of her past problems, and she looked past her rape. She believed that it was time to truly move on, and she started to be very vocal about all of her experiences and started to write and pursue all audiences to end the stigma on rape.